Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 46, Episode 15 of SNL with host Maya Rudolph and musical guest Jack Harlow. I'm Catherine Coleman, and I'm joined this week by John Murray, as well as our special guest, Diana Gebbia. You can follow Diana on Instagram at Diana Gebbia. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. Woo! So we had a bit of a hiatus, but we're back with Maya Rudolph. Maya Rudolph's back. We got a lot going on. I'm really excited to jump into this episode, but we got a lot of stuff to cover first. And the first thing on that list is to introduce our guest, and she's a friend of John's. So John, I'm going to let you take it over from here.
Yeah, we are joined this evening by the illustrious reality TV blogger and host, Diana Gebbia, LA-based personality extraordinaire. Say hello, Diana.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited because I listened to you. So now it's I'm in on the after party.
Good. Yeah, there's nothing like being invited to the after party.
Exactly.
I hope we don't disappoint. But before we jump in, we're quickly establishing a little tradition when we bring on a first-time guest. We basically need to grill you, make sure that you got SNL cred, and figure out what it is that gives you the right to critique this comedy institution. So let's just start at the beginning of your SNL origin story. When did you start watching? Why do you love the show?
Sure. So that's such a loaded question. What makes me why should I critique? But I'm originally from Staten Island. Don't know if you ever heard of it. But growing up, I feel like SNL was just always around me because being from New York. And I wasn't big into it. I wasn't I had to see every episode every weekend like I do now back then. But I'd be when I would sleep over with my goddaughters, Saturday into Sunday, your parents would have it on in the morning and we'd all watch together. Those were Seth Meyers, Tina Fey, all that stuff. And then my parents growing up, it was always Gilda Radner. My mom would be you have to watch Rosanna So it's just always been part of my life. And then during quarantine of all things, I just ran out of things to binge watch. And I'm you like SNL? Why don't you catch up? So I started watching backwards, which is, I don't know if I would recommend that, but it works.
When you say backwards, you mean from current headed to 1970s or from 19? Okay.
Yes. So it would be that. Well, at the time, I think it was October when I started. So it was that week's episode, then catch up on 46, gotcha. Then 40. Yeah. So it was just really weird, especially when you know what's going on with the cast members' lives. And it's to see it all go backwards. It's woo.
Yeah. I don't know if I can endorse that particular mode of catching up on the show, but hey, if it works for you, fantastic. So what you mentioned a little bit, you said somewhere in the Seth Meyers, Tina Fey vintage of the show. Do you remember the first episode or sketch or bit that stood out and made you think, oh, this is a show worth my time, my attention?
Yeah, the Californians, which is so funny because now I live in California and it's so true. I can't tell you how many times I've gone somewhere. I was talking to one guy, it was at a voiceover event, and he's oh, I'm from the San Gabriel Valley. And I'm oh, whereabouts is that? Thinking in in Jersey, you always say, what exit? So I asked him and he's well, you get on the 405, go down for a couple miles. And I'm oh my God, it's so true. And then they actually said my street name on the Californians and I nearly had a heart attack. So I feel that's a badge of honor.
Yeah. They've always said that is the most inside of inside jokes for the West Coast audience. So it's nice to know that it lands, because honestly, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I know what the joke is supposed to be, but I have no connection to it. So that's awesome. That's the first big thumbs up I've heard for that sketch. So I guess we just need more West Coasters. All right. So we've sort of established your cred. Before we jump into the show proper, though, Catherine, why don't we run through the latest run of host announcements?
Yeah, we got a couple of those for the next 2 weeks. So on April 3rd, we're going to have Daniel Kaluuya with musical guest St. Vincent. And then April 10th, Carey Mulligan with musical guest Kid Cudi.
So excited for Cudi. Yeah, he's got a connection with Pete Davidson. So if Pete's around, That's going to be fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I have no idea who Daniel Kaluuya is, but I know who Carey Mulligan is. I had a very awkward non-encounter with her in the West Village a couple of years ago. I was walking around. It must have been like 1 or 2 in the morning, and she was standing outside of a theater having a cigarette, and I was like the only person coming down the street, and it's kind of like this dark alley kind of situation.
You were
And
wearing a trench coat and a ski
no,
mask.
I mean, I just my own bumbling, non-menacing nature, but still, I could tell that she was just a little apprehensive, and I hope that it was like she was apprehensive because she just didn't want to be bothered. Like, I just came out for a smoke. I don't want anyone coming up to me and being a goober. So hopefully it was just that. Anyways, I walked past. I didn't say anything to her. I recognized that she wanted her space and whatnot. And obviously, I'm no one of note who, should be imposing on her time. But nonetheless, I briefly encountered Carey Mulligan at one point late at night, and I hope that, I didn't scare her too much. That is the most insight I can offer on any of these hosts. But here's the thing. We got a little show-related news because I won't actually be discussing any of these with you, Catherine. You'll be having on, I'm assuming, Steve and probably a few more maybe new friends to the show, and probably a few that we've seen over the last couple of months. This is actually going to be my last recording for season 46. I'm still going to be producing the show behind the scenes and working with you, and I'll be on social media. Like, I haven't disappeared or anything, and I'm actually going to be producing some vintage casts to fill in gaps in our rundown, and also, give us some content for the summer. So I'm still involved, but I'm going to be doing some traveling. I'm doing some podcast producing on other shows now. I have 4 other shows that I'm consulting on and collaborating on. So I'm just spread a little thin. And if I'm traveling, I never know if I'm going to have a good enough internet connection to really be able to participate. So it just seems like now is a great time to jump out on a show with an alum host that I know and want to talk about. And then all these other people that I don't know from Adam, you youngins, you guys can chat about that. So that's what we're looking at for the rest of the season. But the show isn't going anywhere, and you'll be lining up whoever you think is a good fit for those shows. And then into the May run as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing some new faces. And that's pretty much all I've got on that. But before I let anyone else talk, we have 2 patrons that I also want to thank. So Michael Riccardi has joined us from Philly, PA, and also Anna Rose from Austin, Texas. So our patrons, they are appreciated and loved, and we thank everyone that takes the time and the effort to support us in whatever capacity they can. And we just really appreciate the support, and that's what makes the show possible. And so we always love to be able to give them a shout out. And with that said, Catherine, why don't you get us into tonight's episode?
For the cold open, MTV's newest spring break show, Snatched, Waxed, or Vaxxed. So, Diana, you're in the hot seat. What'd you think about the cold open?
It reminded me, there's a meme going around where it's like summer 2021 in the club. It's like, hey girl, Pfizer or Moderna. And that's like literally what it reminded me of, until absolutely nobody was vaxxed. And like, that was the whole joke because it was Miami. But there were so many good things about this sketch. Like, this is what I love about SNL. You have the main sketch, which is obviously a play on COVID and people just ignoring the guidelines, but they snuck in like Spirit Airlines and then AstraZeneca. Right. Like, I thought it was so great. And like, I've been to Miami before, so I like picked up on the Versace murder steps. Like, I thought that was hilarious. Maya absolutely killed it. For her to go from the cold open and like give us the energy she gave, to have to go do the monologue, like, props to you, girlfriend. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this was super fun. It was light. It was, no heavy political stuff going on, really. I thought it was the perfect amount of people just being moronic, and that level of commentary about there's all these things in place to control crowds, but of course the crazy Floridians think they're like perks. I thought that was a really fun take to have on that. But what really stood out were the performances in this one. Maya, of course, came to win. I thought Chloe's performance of meth was really funny.
Yes.
And yeah, so I think the performances are really what put it over the top, and this was a win for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
John, what'd you think?
Yeah. So if the internet is to believed, they threw this in as the cold open as a switch up between dress and live because it was originally going to be the Kamala Harris Seder thing.
Which makes
It was
more
going to be the
sense.
cold open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you see how both of these play and the energy levels and the fact that they both had Maya in them anyways, they were already banking on Maya being able to carry a cold open and then, like you said, Diana, transition right into the monologue without losing a beat. So it put more options on the table if they wanted to switch it up and try and find something more fun for the cold open. And I think honestly, it was necessary. I think if they had
Thank
opened up
God.
with
Mm.
Kamala at a podium and then tried to mix it up with what was very sprawling in that other sketch, I think it would have been tepid and would have hurt the show.
Mhm.
So I think this was a savvy move to put this up front. And you guys are right. Just the extreme personalities on display and how well the cast captured them. That's what's working here. And so, yeah, this was a lot of fun. And I don't have anything great to say about it that you guys haven't already covered, so I won't dwell on it. But just this was the energy that you want. And when it came up, before I had any insight on the reshuffling, I thought, oh, great, they're continuing this trend of let's not go overtly political for the cold open. Let's just find some social commentary or some news item that is a little bit more removed from the podium. And so right out of the gate, I was awarding it marks for continuing that trend.
Mhm.
And yeah, then it just became this goofy disaster, which was a joy to watch.
Yeah. I not to spoil my take too much of the other one, but I'm very, very
Mhm.
glad that they switched it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The energy would have been just woof.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a smart call. Glad they did it.
All right, well, let's get into the monologue where Maya brings out the babies to reminisce about her time at SNL. Diana, how'd you feel about it?
I like that it was sentimental. So she's obviously reflecting on her time with the cast, but it's like downright funny because she's messing up everyone's name. It was like, I forgot, it was like Callista Vagina or something like that. I thought that was
Yeah.
hysterical. Poor Laura. Like, imagine getting stuck with that name. And I like that all of a sudden she just starts talking about her time at SNL and it's the Breakfast Club. Like, obviously, like, that's not how it went down. And then they all start going into Don't You Forget About Me. Like, it was really clever. Some other musical openings, like, have just not been it. And I like that that was not a full musical opening, but they incorporated it into there.
Mhm. Yeah, I like it when they bring out the new kids. It's a
The new
gag
class,
we've
yeah.
seen a few times, and it's always fun. Especially for the SNL nerds to see them get a little moment up there with the host, especially when it's a host like Maya Rudolph, who I'm sure that they've watched many times, except for Dismuse because he was in the womb. But yeah, I thought this was really fun. I didn't think it was fantastic. It's not my favorite monologue or anything like that, but it worked, and the energy of the show was there from that cold open that I felt like it continued. So it was a win.
I'm going to be the dissenting opinion then.
Oh.
There wasn't anything wrong with this, but I was hoping they'd shoot a little higher because Maya has incredible performance abilities in so many areas that I was hoping for something a little more inspired, something that would just really bring the house down. And maybe that's just me having inflated expectations, but there was bits of this that just felt a little too easy. Like it didn't
That's
feel
fair.
like, yeah, it just didn't feel like they prioritized it or I would have hoped that, some of the writers would have been thinking a couple weeks out while they're on hiatus. We really want to cook up something special for Maya. Like what I want to pitch something really amazing. And I just don't think that conversation ever happened. So
Mhm.
even though there wasn't anything wrong with this, I think you squander having someone like Maya there if you don't try to shoot a little higher for the cold open. So I don't know, just meh for me.
Fair enough. Let's get into something maybe you're a little warmer on, where things get spicy when Beyonce appears on Hot Ones. John, were you hot on Hot Ones?
Oh, I wanted to be because I felt like there was a lot of potential here, but I felt like I felt like it just couldn't keep its energy up. I felt like there must have been a better way to present this, where cutting back to Maya and having her getting increasingly verklempt at the spiciness and continuing to heap more spice on her while she's trying to like keep up a cool exterior. I felt like there was more that could have been mined and all that. And because Maya plays Beyonce as very kind of like cool and calm and wispy, like she's there,
Mhm.
it's a very ethereal take on Beyonce. And so I feel like that just didn't let it go to great places.
Mhm.
So I liked the idea. I liked where they started from, but I just I was left wanting for some reason.
Okay. I I really liked it. I think Maya's
Good.
Beyonce is fantastic. I thought this was
Mhm.
a good creative way to bring it back and make it current, with this
Mhm.
show that's a big deal. I don't watch a ton of it, but I've watched enough to get it, right? So they were
Mhm.
hitting the beats of they're always going to try the water. The water's not going to help. They're going to have to drink the milk. Like, they were hitting the beats of the show, but also hitting like they still kept the character strong of Beyonce. So, she's from Texas. She can take this. And then, it's take my wig off and like things that make it more uniquely Beyonce. And I thought it was good. I thought they found decent places to go with it. The one thing that
Okay.
left me wanting was when I think she tries the second one maybe, and he asks about the dance move. And she goes, I
Oh yeah.
forgot. And I
Yeah.
wanted just a little bit more levity there for her to just look off into the distance and say, I forgot who I was. What is Yonsei? All I'm focused on is not blowing out my pants. Like, just like a couple more lines there to
Yeah.
really drive that home, I think would have landed and been really fun.
Mm.
But
Okay.
besides that, yeah, I liked it. This was a big win for me. Diana,
Okay.
how'd
Yeah,
you feel?
John, I'm with you on this. I feel like a lot of the sketches lately, it's like it starts off as a good idea, but it doesn't really like it's not a belly laugh or it just goes on for too long. And I think this
Mhm.
was one of them. I do think that Mikey Day absolutely nailed that host to a T.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's a good role for because he's always reacting to everything. So in that role, he had to react anyway. So that was great. And Keenan has my whole heart. I think his name was Michael D'Angelo.
Sure.
Like he commits to every, no matter how small the role is, he commits, and we love to see
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this definitely had moments for sure. There was something about it that just left me a little bit wanting, and it could have just been that, like you said, Diana, that maybe it just went on a little too long, or
Yeah.
just it just lacked a little bit of oomph, to
Mhm.
really make it feel special. But
Yeah.
it's still passable. Yep.
All right. So where are you on your roller coaster of the show, John? Because we started off pretty high, and we're
See, now here's the thing. Yeah, I liked that the cold open caught me by surprise and was goofy and fun. The monologue, and I always say it, I want the monologue to really make me feel confident about the show and just let me know that everything's, I can be confident in the host and that, everybody came to play and that
mhm.
there's going to be a good energy to it. And I think maybe because the monologue left me a little wanting, coming into this sketch, I just wasn't quite as giddy and ready to embrace something like this. And so maybe I'm knocking it just because I'm a little lower on the show. And unfortunately, this one didn't pull me in and say, okay, that was a really strong opener for the live fair. I'm back on track. I'm still waiting for my first belly laugh of the night.
Mm.
All right. Well, let's see if we get it with the but baby boomers getting their vaccines. Diana, did you like this music video?
I thought it was very relatable. Like, as far as songs go, it wasn't their best hit, but like, I'm in LA. The vaccine rollout is god awful right now. Like, I don't even think boomers are getting their vaccine here. So that was just really relatable. And it was just, what was really funny on a personal note was one of the outfits Melissa was wearing. My mom has it and she's a boomer and she's vaxxed. So, like, I literally
Love
texted her,
it.
I'm like, Mom, you have this, right? And she's like, oh my God, yeah. But everyone, like the music talent of that class, like Ego is a queen. I love that she reprised the role of Edith Puthie from the Name Change Office. So I thought it was creative, maybe not their best song, but like relatable and creative for sure.
Mhm.
I agree. I think that's a fair take. It was a lot of fun. I really really liked it, but just not overall the best produced track that they've had because they've been cranking out some really really good ones.
Mhm.
So that might say more about the ones we've seen recently than this one. But I thought, like you said, the performances here amazing. Like this cast is so musically talented. It's just wild. The editing was great. The costumes, which you also touched on, fantastic. And then some really good rhymes. The part where it was like money, stacks, pants, cacks, arm, like that little section was really catchy, and I loved that. Like this was a lot of fun, and took me. I was already feeling pretty good, so I'm getting up there like, oh, okay, we're on a roll now. So that's where I am. John, how about you?
I liked it. I think this is a win. Like you guys said, this isn't one for the books. This isn't. I don't think this is going to make like the best of reels. It's not the new Twin Bed or anything, but it's a timely joke that I think they ran at and found maybe the best approach for what they're trying to say. Like that's great. That the boomers are getting the vaccine, but we're kind of not all that hot on boomers. Like we kind of feel like they've had it too good for too long. And now they're the ones that are going to get to start living their lives again. So it's this petty jealousy of the younger generation towards the boomers. That's a fun observation because I think there's some truth in there. So right off the bat, it's saying something that I think a lot of people probably agree with the message of it. And then, just to have them rub it in your face, just add a little bit of stank to the boomers. That's fun. There was a lot of fun to be had. Costuming, great. Song, middle of the road.
Yeah.
So overall, this definitely got over. It was worth producing. It was a fun addition to the show. Not one for the books.
All right. Fair enough. Up next, we have the would-be cold open. Kamala Harris welcomes a rotating cast of characters for her Unity Seder with a cameo from Martin Short. So Diana, how'd you like this one? What one?
So this is also one of the ones where I'm like, I felt like I needed more from it, but like I stan Kamala Harris, California girl, and I love her and Doug. Like we all need a man like that. Martin Short was great, and it's the performances were good. Like 80 as Ted Cruz, like that's what we need for 2021. Like she absolutely nails it every single time. But I just felt like. I don't know. It felt like, all right, they knock on the door, they come in, they're like insensitive to the fact it's Passover. Okay. And then I actually might have an unpopular take. I'm not loving Alex's Joe Biden. Like it's just, he's not doing it for me. There was some special spark from Jim Carrey that I absolutely loved, and I can't put my finger on it. And listen, I'm an Alex fan. I love him, but it's just, I feel like it's missing something there.
Okay. This is only the second time we've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
he did the tumble for the first time. Yeah.
Little time to warm into it might help.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it was a mess. I
call it like you see it.
Like I said, I'm really glad it wasn't the cold open because that would not have led me into the episode feeling great. It's all the things that we've complained about the cold opens forever. It's sprawling. It's just someone enters stage right. They say two lines. They exit stage left. They just come in. They come out. They have there's not a lot of commentary in it. There's not a really solid game. It's just not. It's not fun for me. I know people who love these, so it's working for somebody. But I thought it was a weird take on Doug. I don't get those crazy vibes from Doug, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. But to focus on the positive for a minute, I do think they had a few things working here. First of all, I love every time Kamala says "Joe Biden." I just think that's really funny.
Joe Biden.
I think Ted Cruz absolutely would come in with bread because he's an idiot. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene coming in through the window. It's a very good beat. So it had a few things working for it, but overall, it wasn't for me.
Yeah. Maya does a good Kamala, so we knew this was inevitable. But
and I like Maya's Kamala.
Yeah, but I'd rather them like throw her in a QVC commercial or something.
Right.
Like there's ways to take a political character and just
absolutely
do something inspired, mix it up, give them a wacky setting, do something to generate better comedy than, like you said, the parade of political caricatures. And darn it all, if you got Martin Short in the studio, put them to better use. Like there's just, I felt like there was just a lot of things that, a lot of pieces in this that I think should have been put to better use. So I didn't get a whole lot from it. At the end of it, I was scratching my head going, oh geez, that was a big miss. So, if we're doing the roller coaster, they keep getting these base hits that are just keeping me invested in the show, and then it tanks. So this was not this was not a highlight of the show. I totally get why they pushed this back. I wish they'd maybe scrapped it altogether, but they came up short on the good nights. She had a lot of time to chat there on the podium at the end, or on the home base at the end. So I guess it was inevitable.
Yeah, you can't have her
you
not
build
do
an
it.
8-minute sketch.
Yeah.
You got a big hole in the show if you ditch it. So it is what it is. I didn't need it.
I feel that.
Very good. Well, let's get into the next music video. An intro to NFTs in the form of a parody of Eminem's Without Me, with a cameo from our musical guest, Jack Harlow. So, John, how'd you feel about this?
Well, anytime we get an Eminem parody on SNL, my first question is, why now? Like it just so feels not culturally relevant to be parodying that type of music. I think we had one not too long ago with Stan and the PS5. And even though that one, I thought just lyrically, that one was fantastic what they pulled off with that. This one, I don't know. I found it a little grating, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
I like the subject matter. I like the idea of this inscrutable online thing that has emerged over the last couple months that nobody quite understands, but somebody's getting rich off it. Like taking that, mashing that up with like an economics class where you would think there would be brilliant people that could lay this out for you in eloquent terms, and they're stymied, and then mash it up with Eminem. There's a lot of stuff there stewing, but I just don't think the results were phenomenal.
Yeah, you're not the only person who asks why now. There's a lot of that on Twitter today.
Sure.
And I am not a person who asks why now, because I'm like, because their writers and their target audience grew up when this song was popular and it's fun.
Sure.
Like it's as
that's true. It
simple
wasn't
as
lost
that,
on me. Like I got the
No,
reference.
no.
Yeah,
Like I know, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like, guys, it's okay. You know the song and they liked the song and they wanted to parody the song. There doesn't have to be anything more to it than that.
That is the far more reasonable take. Absolutely. But you know what it is? If I'm coming off of a bomb sketch, I'm not going to cut it short. That's what it is.
That's fair. But I had fun with it. I thought I was a big fan of the Stan sketch. So as soon as we see Pete in the thing, I'm like, oh, I remember that music video.
Yeah.
And it started all flooding back to me. So they hit the costumes and the set pieces enough that I was immediately like, oh yeah, there was that E bouncing in the background and now it's a P. I remember this. I still have no idea what an NFT is, but I'm maybe a centimeter closer to getting it. So this was fun. I didn't think it was as high of a high as the Stan parody, but I was happy to see it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So when I saw Pete come out, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I represent the Pete Davidson lovers.
All right.
Staten Island.
Exactly. So when I saw him come out as Eminem, I'm like, yes, we're back in it. Blonde Pete is here. That is the best kind of Pete there is. And yeah, I still, again, I did not understand what an NFT was, but I thought it was creative. I thought it was relevant. It actually ties in with my reality TV world because Matt James from The Bachelor just tweeted a bunch of stuff about NFTs. And then I Googled it and didn't know what it was. I literally said to my friend, I'm like, what's the difference between this and a GIF? I don't get it. And then she's like, there's money. I'm like, okay. Not about that life. But yeah, it was an iconic video. I remember, I think I was in middle school when it came out. And this was like before YouTube. There was like some sort of like greeting card website and you could send music video greeting cards to your friends. And we would just play the videos over and over. And that was one of them. So that took me back a little bit.
Nice.
I was entertained.
Yeah. I remember having this CD that I put it in my little Walkman and listened to it on the bus to school every morning.
Yes.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I remember living across the river from Detroit and hearing that song basically on a loop on FM radio for about 3 years. So maybe that's another reason why I'm not as hot on it, because that was Eminem's like big breakout. And oh God, did
Power
that get
rotation.
at least around here.
That's fair.
Yes.
All right, well, speaking of Jack Harlow, now it's his turn to perform a medley of Tyler Harrow and What's Poppin', as well as Same Guy with an assist from Adam Levine and his really, really big coat. So Diana, did you know who Jack Harlow was going into this? Are you a fan? What did you think of the performance?
Yeah, every time I hear that song, I switch the station. I went to wash my dishes during this, and nobody asked for Adam Levine, like not a single person. And he literally just gets up there and he's like, "Ooh, oh yeah," and I'm like, "How much did you get paid?"
He here?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it.
He must have been on the track. Is he on? Is he on the actual recording?
But why?
But why? Like, it's not like he has a substantial verse or like he literally sang the chorus and threw a couple ooh yeah falsettos, and I'm like, you probably got paid more than I do in a month, Adam Levine. Like, that's my take on it.
That's your take.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
We'll allow it. I agree on the Adam Levine thing. It was. If he's on the track, okay, fine. I still think that that's an expensive choice. Maybe he produced it. I should have Googled it. But that was there. The coat was distracting for me. The songs were catchy enough. I didn't hate them. I thought the second song of the first song medley had a cool kind of musicality in the background track.
What's poppin'? Yeah.
Yeah. It had a cool little kind of guitar riff going on. So I was having fun with that. But nothing to write home about. I didn't add it to my library or anything. But I did, even on the rewatch, I did play through the entire first song, which is not something I always do. So it checked some box.
That was nice of you.
Yeah, you're going to be more generous than me. I don't understand the booking on this. I don't know. I guess I just really had high hopes for Maya Rudolph's episode. And I just would have thought that the people that she appeals to would be like the old school SNL folks and the people that, well, yeah, just people that know who she is. Cause she doesn't have a current show. She's here to support the show more than anything than to promote anything current.
You expect Sum 41 when music was
music.
I
was going to say that.
Exactly, when music was music. Well, but I would have expected a throwback or a friend of the show or just something broader and more accessible. And this is just not a strain of hip hop that I have any real affection for. And Adam Levine, just dude was looking weird for some reason. Like, I don't know if he's maybe going a little heavy on the eyeliner or something, but he just was looking off-putting in a way. And I know that has nothing to do with the music, but if that catches your eye and you're not listening to the song anymore, cause you're like, what's up with Adam Levine?
Right.
Something about that, plays into your enjoyment of the performance. So, I just wasn't loving it. And, I don't know. It's a show that because it hasn't been firing on all cylinders again, I can admit probably not giving it as much slack as I would if I had been really jazzed at this point. But yeah, it wasn't the booking I was looking for.
Based on my zero knowledge of booking, I'm going to say it was maybe like, sometimes they try to do this thing where they bring in a host for one crowd and a musical guest for a different crowd,
Sure. Yeah. You got to get the kids and you got to get
I don't know how effective that is in the long term, but
even if
they do certainly know more than me. So
yeah. But like to that point, if they were trying to appeal to a younger audience, like, I mean, I know Billie Eilish has been on the show, but she's phenomenal. She's got a documentary out now. Like, I feel like that would have been a smarter choice. So
sure.
Yeah.
SNL booking, hire me.
Who knows? You never know. And you never know who's going to be in New York and like quarantine available. Like they've got their own challenges. Definitely. So I don't want to act like I could do better as a booker for SNL, but yeah, it just wasn't the performance for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into Weekend Update then. For their lead-in, Jost goes hard on gun control, and Che shouts out Fixident. Diana, was this a strong Weekend Update for you?
I love these two. Like, I love Weekend Update. I love these two together. I think Che is all of us. And it's just so funny with these jokes. I was literally yelling like, oh my God, after every joke. My favorite one was about the Muppets.
Sesame Street has introduced 2 new black Muppets to help explain racial difference to children, which begs the question, are these Muppets white?
I snorted at that one. I thought that was really good. Yeah, it's so funny. Cecily, I freaking love how she can play the kooky characters like down to a T. I think that is because she's an Aquarius queen. Her birthday is a day before mine. She absolutely like nailed Sydney Powell, and shout out to wardrobe. They got that outfit like every single detail correct. So I was super impressed there. And then like Bowen, my whole heart, like, oh my God, he managed to take such a serious topic, add some humor to it, and drive a point home to where it was done. I was like, that was funny, but like, damn, like I'm affected. So I thought it was really strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we can dive in even more to those features in a second. I'll say that as for the Jost and Che joke part of it, I thought this was a really, really strong outing. There wasn't a single joke that for me didn't land. I thought they were really on their A game. They had a good rhythm. You had Che giving his little giggles to Colin's jokes off to the side, which is always fun. I thought that this was really, really good, and that Muppet joke you mentioned was so the funny highlight for me. John, what did you think of the lead-in?
I can't fault their delivery or their energy. Like, this was solid. This was an improvement over what we saw during their last run, where we thought they had a couple shaky nights. My only critique, and this is my hang up, is I'm still waiting for the outing of Weekend Update that doesn't feel like serious punditry. Because for about 5 years, every late night talk show host turned into a political pundit. And that was all the material, just that was all you got from every outlet. And SNL obviously, took that track as well. And I'm just waiting for the day when we have a Weekend Update and it just feels like a return to form, in that they don't feel like they have to come out swinging on like a huge divisive social issue. And that's as much of me being frustrated with the news cycle for giving them constant
it was a
things to talk about. Like so I don't know if I'm mad at Weekend Update or if I'm just mad at society in general for being crazy balls in 2021. One way or another, I want the light fun. I want more Muppet jokes and less gun control. So it's not a knock at them, because even those jokes that I'm like, oh God, this just feels so like serious. Even though it had a lot of that, it was well-crafted stuff. And so I do like to see the guys feeding off the audience, catching their stride, having good back and forth. Like, there was a lot to like here. And I hope that the further we get down the road, and maybe things will calm down and we'll just get more goofy stuff, less politics. That's all I want.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the features then. So we had Sydney Powell proving that no reasonable person would listen to her. Diana, I know you said that Cecily can play a kooky character really well.
She killed it.
And you're right.
Yeah, she absolutely nailed it. That whole turkey thing, I was just like, woo, like she's going in and out. I'm like, damn girl. Yes.
Yeah. This is a good character. I couldn't help but feel like it's Kathy Ann with her life together just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Kathy Ann's, alternate dimension twin is Sydney Powell. And so that was taking it away. Even though I love Kathy Ann, that was taking away from it a little bit. Because I was like, I just feel like this is the same character in a different outfit, And it was fun, but I didn't think it was a fantastic character that we'll necessarily be seeing again or anything. That's my big note on it. John, what'd you think?
Yeah. We are, 8 years into Cecily's run. She's basically shown us everything she has to show us, which means if they throw a new character at her, she's going to be drawing from something we've already seen. That's inevitable. Later in the night, we see Girl You Wish You Never Talked To at a Party show up in a drunken sketch. So she has to pull it from somewhere, and she has to pull it together pretty quick, to have something ready to go on air. So not everyone is going to be like the next Judge Janine Pirro, where she really like finds something fresh. Not every character is going to be that. And Sydney Powell is so of the moment and so never going to be revisited again that I just don't think it's a tent pole, and that there's much Cecily could do to differentiate it that way. The costume does half the work, and then the material and the clever idea of Sidney Powell trying to like work this insanity angle and like basically trying to establish a ledger of craziness that she can refer to in her trial. That's clever. And that's where, if there's any merit in this, it's in that. It's not that Cecily brought anything amazing that we haven't seen before. If we'd never seen Cecily on screen before, we'd be like, that's a solid Sidney Powell. But we know Cecily's repertoire pretty good.
Yeah, we do.
Fun, not remarkable.
Yeah. Up next, Asian cast member Bowen Yang discusses resources to support the AAPI community. And I thought he was off to a hot start on this one, with looking at Khan and saying, I set your ass up.
Yeah.
I thought that was really fun. It's something that was very serious and absolutely, needed to be talked about. Obviously, it weighs heavily on Bowen's community. And I'm glad that that SNL has the representation there to have this voice. I think that's great and that's huge. I think there was some moments they were switching back and forth between joking about it and being serious. And I think switching that many times didn't help to clue the audience in on where we were supposed to laugh. I think if he had stuck with, say, the part about tell us we're hot, lesbian Sailor Moon characters, on, and then closed it out with, but in all seriousness, the GoFundMe, and that's what you should be giving to the community. I think that would have, both sides of it would have landed so much better and more impactful. So I think just the switching back and forth didn't help the audience feel comfortable laughing. And that's my note on it, but I am glad that this piece aired. Absolutely. Important to say. Diana, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, it tugged at like all my heartstrings. Like I know this is like a serious problem going on, and like kudos to Bowen, because it's not his responsibility to educate us and explain why, but he did it in a way that was comfortable for him. Maybe grabbing more of that humor is what made it easier for him. But then in the all the seriousness, where it was do more and fuel up, that phrase he said, you could tell he was really like digging inward. So I felt for him through all that. And it just, like I said, it really affected me. Like, not that I wasn't affected before, but when you hear someone talk about that and that's their community that's being affected by these horrible, tragic events, like it really just like, damn, like it gets you. He did an amazing job.
That's a good point, because you could see he was struggling at points. So maybe that was a very intentional move to throw in some jokes to help Bowen get through it.
Yeah.
This is always a tricky line to walk, because that you can't separate his passion or sincerity for the topic from the jokes. Like, you can't invest in him as a character because this is a raw issue right now. So right off the bat, there's the liability of knowing that this isn't something that is entirely trivial. This isn't something that's purely a joke. And that is always tough to pull off without losing the audience in that they're not at ease with you. Like, you want people to be disarmed and have their guard down so they can just take the jokes as you intend them without them having to think too much about the state of the world and their obligation towards, society. Like, if people have all that burden on them, it's hard to find the funny in it. And so, because it's such a tricky line to walk, and there's so many competing things working against this piece, I have to be forgiving of the fact that I agree with you entirely in that there would have been a way to structure this where you keep it squarely in the realm of levity and do some hard-hitting jokes, like take some knocks, but these are jokes. This is squarely entertainment. And then, seriously, people, into camera, get your message out. Because those lines were blurred, and there were moments where he's joking and then he says something that's so scathing, like, there's no common ground. You want to punch my grandma, I have an Asian grandma. You can see that there's way more sincerity and seriousness in that than him trying to present something for us to laugh at. And so you're right. You have to be really there with him as he runs the gamut of joke serious, joke serious, joke serious. And it's just hard. It's hard to invest in that as comedy. But I have seen people attempt this and do so much worse. Like there's people where they just can't get you on their side at all. He came out and he was very smart right up front to show, oh, I'm a diva and I played you. And like he disarms us a little bit at the beginning and he gets us on his side and he gets into it and I'm right there with him. And it's only in the middle where it starts to get challenging because you're like, wait a minute, what are you telling me I'm supposed to be feeling right now? Am I supposed to be joking with you right now, or am I being scolded? And that's just that's tricky to navigate those waters. So I thought it was smart. I respected his passion. The jokes that were in there were all solid. And like you said, Catherine, just because of the roller coaster of it, it was challenging.
Maybe to that point, like it's like not about how we have to feel. Like maybe it's just like, all right, it's time for us to listen and that like follow along with that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you drop right out of comedy mode and say,
Yeah.
now it's time to listen. And then we understand we can follow that a lot easier than, wait a minute, are we still joking or aren't we? Yeah. So it's tricky. And so many people cannot walk that line as well as Bowen
did
does.
a good job.
So the fact that he got this over at all is amazing because it's just such touchy, odd subject matter. But nonetheless, like you guys said, glad it was in the show because the show has to find some way to speak to it. And there's nothing better than what Bowen presented there. Like really there's nothing else they could have done that would have said as much as what he said. So it's still a win in many ways.
We love Bowen, and I will be starting a change.org petition for a 20-minute segment of the Passover bunny. I do want to see that.
It was the hot Passover
the joke
bunny.
About how he wanted to do like the gay Passover bunny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I will be your first signature.
You lost me there.
I caught John in that moment where he thought I was being serious. I didn't
like,
walk
wait a minute,
the line as well as Bowen.
Are we doing a charity thing here? Yeah.
All right, well, let's get out a weekend update and into choreographers Richard Perquest and Tanya Katank hash out their personal history. Diana, how'd you feel about this?
Okay, this was one of those where like I would make so many changes to this sketch, but like Keenan went hard for us and he did not have to do that. So I just want to highlight Keenan for a second, love him. But like the whole thing where it was like, all right, we're the choreographers now. I thought it was going to be like at the end where it was like, all it was tip the toe and tip the hat, point the toe. That would have been so much funnier just showing them fighting over mediocre choreography or showing off like terrible choreography than like them talking in the corner and like, ooh, show me everything. Like after the second one, I was just like, all right, I'm over it. I get it. You love each other. You hate each other. Like, bleh. The only thing that I really, really liked was like Keenan screwing up the words. Like when he said, meet me by that picture of Jean-Benet Ramsey, like I nearly peed my pants. I thought that was hysterical, but I was underwhelmed.
Yeah, that little sub game of Keenan not knowing what things were called was the most fun I was having in the sketch. And I thought there were funny little moments and funny things, and you're right. Keenan and Maya gave us great performances.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many strange things happening in this sketch.
Yeah.
It took a lot of time to get it set up because that's how many layers there were. It's a Broadway production coming back from COVID. Oh, the choreographer tested positive. Oh, we got a new choreographer. Oh, I also got a new choreographer. They don't like each other. And now we're into the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of steps to walk us through. So I feel like if they could have found a way to cut some of that out or just get into it quicker and just make it a little less complicated, a little simpler, we would have had a stronger sketch that maybe we could have had a little bit more fun with. So yeah, just overcomplicated on this one for me. John, how'd you feel?
Well, I think you guys said all the key things on this one. I love those characters. And I just don't think this was the best collision for these on again, off again eccentrics to have to, meet and find resolution in the relationship. I think those characters could do something really fun if the setting that they're put into and the situation they're put into allows them to just go down that love
Mhm.
roller coaster and reminisce and just be these eccentric characters colliding with each other. I think there's something there. Everything else around it was just either keeping us from that story or that story was keeping us from everything else. And it just felt like they were two different worlds that never made
Right.
sense in the sketch. And for that, I just didn't get enough of either side of it for it to really be rewarding. So yeah, I wanted to like it because I love these kind of characters from Maya, like things that you could tell she has like a really rock solid beat
Yeah.
on this kind of crazy. And she just exudes these kind of characters and just really makes you believe them. And Keenan's a perfect foil for
Yeah.
her in these situations. So the chemistry there, that was what could have worked much better if it just
Yeah.
wasn't such a
Yeah,
mess.
you got what I was trying to say, which is these characters are really fun. This is just not the right setting,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, up next, it's time for the 2021 Barfly Awards. John, was this a win?
I'm trying so hard to like this show so very, very hard. This was fun because it was a novel way to put a spotlight on a bunch of drunk cliches that I felt was an amusing little ride to go on with these characters. But we're getting so deep in the show, I'm still waiting for like the unqualified super win. And we're still just getting base hits at best. So this was novel. It was amusing. I liked some of the characters and just some of the bizarre awards that they're getting recognition for. And just some of the scenarios they're painting of
Yep.
the debauchery of these characters. So there was stuff to like here. Just
Yeah.
this was okay. It got over, but not spectacular.
People being drunk is not the world's strongest game. So
Sure. Yes.
this had some really fun moments. I thought Cecily just walking straight towards the camera was
Yes.
hilarious.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh God, I loved that. And I thought, some of the drunk performances were better than others. I thought Cecily and 80 in particular
Yeah.
were rock star drunk actors. And so it had some good moments. I thought they had good observations about, what these people, what they value, most outrageous accusation, or not accusation, most outrageous claim, stuff like that. There was some stuff here. There were moments, but overall, it wasn't a highlight.
Yeah, I wish I was drunk through it. It wasn't my favorite. I mean, I loved the sloppiness of it, like you said, and in a way it made me feel nostalgic for like PQ pre-quarantine times, but like it just, I don't know, it was missing something. Like if they had the sober, like Chloe was on the side giving away the awards, right? Like if she had more of a role and she was the only sober one there and they did something with that, that would have been so funny. Like they've been doing a lot of award shows lately. Like we had the chicken legs a few episodes ago, which that I was like rolling on the floor laughing. But yeah, I felt like it dragged on. It was missing something. And then did you guys notice at the beginning they messed up one of the lower thirds?
Yep.
With the claim? Like I was just wondering like what was up with that because they said like,
they fixed it on the Hulu upload, but yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah, I only watched the digital, so I didn't see that.
Yeah. Well, so when they went over Lauren for the most outrageous claim, it said like went to prom with Michael Jordan, but then 80 said had sex with the ghost. And I'm like, those are two very different things. And at first I thought it was like a play on them being drunk. I'm like, oh, they can't even get the awards right. But which would have been funny. But yeah.
Yeah, they fixed that. I noticed. There were a few things they tweaked in this episode, but nothing gratuitous this time as they have before. But yeah, I think you're onto something. If we had maybe Chloe being a voice of reason a little bit, maybe that would have been enough to set this a little higher up and have some fun there. All right, well, our 10-1 SNL meets The Shining as Maya walks down memory lane with cameos from Tina Fey and Rachel Dratch. Diana, how'd you feel about it?
This is what the whole show should have been. Like, it should have been this. This is what I was waiting for. The cameos, the little like humor here and there where she threw the shade at Kevin Spacey. Like, this is what we've all been wanting the whole night. And then I also like that it did do a full circle because she started the monologue with like the Breakfast Club and now it's a play on The Shining. So I thought that was really neat, but I'm just, I wish this was the whole damn episode. It was so good. It was so funny. We saw Tina Fey, Kristen Wiig, who I love. Gilly was back. Like, and Rachel Dratch in the bathtub. Like, she did not have to show us her chest, and she did. And we say thank you. Like,
Right. Yeah, this was super fun. Yeah, this is here for us nerds, right? We love to see the cinematic universe and this eerie twist on it, a lot of fun. I loved the gag of her walking down saying, "Oh, what could have been," and then gets to Kevin Spacey and just keeps going.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I loved the little insider joke about the SNL cook just takes chips and puts them in a bowl for like the table read. That's great. Just a lot of fun here. Rachel Dratch is just kooky enough that maybe she would come take a bath there, She's not a ghost. There was a lot of fun to be had here, and it was expertly directed. That is a huge win. I think it was Paul Briganti, and he's been really knocking things out of the park this season. I mean, I think all of my favorite pre-tapes have been directed by him. So he nailed the Kubrick aspect of it, and that's not easy. So big props there. John, was this what you were looking for all night?
Yeah, I think you go to one of the SNL unit directors and say we want to take a run at Kubrick. They're gonna they're gonna know the territory. They're gonna know what they want to accomplish with it. I love how high they can shoot with these. Just blood coming out of the elevator kind of stuff.
It's
like that's
wine.
I know that it's well, sure. It's getting easier every year to do those kind of things, but it still amazes me how quickly they can turn out those kind of production values. So, a lot to like here. Anytime Tina Fey is on screen, it's an automatic win. It's her sketch to lose at that point. I liked the idea of a like ghostly character from the show's past, sort of walking Maya through this bizarre reality. I like mashing your hands into Rachel Dratch's face to confirm that she's not a ghost. Like, this had a lot of really, really fun ideas in it. And I like seeing the old team back together.
Yeah.
And so even if this hung as much on Stanley Kubrick shining goofs as anything really, really smart in what they're saying, it still just had the atmosphere, the production quality, and the cameos that are all warming my heart. So there's no way this couldn't have been.
Yeah, we love to see a cameo with the alumni hosting for sure.
Yeah.
And I would like to just touch on again, because you started to speak to it a little bit. The production of this isn't easy. Like, there's a few of their editors, the McElroy brothers, I don't know how to say it. They frequently post time lapses of the edits, and all the time they're rendering these things at 11:45 and it goes on air at 11:50. Like, it's wild that they managed to accomplish these things. They're shooting them Friday. They're adding all these special effects in. It's wild. And like, I forgot to mention it in the Boomer Vax sketch. When Keenan's talking about his houses in the Hulu version, there's some graphics that pop up of the houses, and I'm pretty sure those weren't there in the live show.
Oh, that's cool.
So they then fix things after the fact, and it is a grueling schedule. So that you have people coming in Friday night, they edit through the show Saturday, they stay there, they fix it for the upload. It's crazy, and it's huge dedication and huge talent.
Yeah. I gotta check that out now.
All right. Well, on that note, let's talk about our overall ratings and thoughts on this episode. So, Diana, what was your moment of the night?
My moment of the night was when Maya smashed Rachel's face, because that was literally in the Maya-ing, because God, she's in the bathtub, she's naked, and then she's just getting a hand in her face, props to her. And we as the viewer didn't know what to expect in that moment. We're like, oh, is she a ghost? Everyone else seems spooky and is a ghost, but nope, it was Rachel Dratch. And we love to see it.
Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think my moment's going to go to Edith Puthie reappearing.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a funny name when she first appeared in the name change sketch. Never did I expect her to reappear. And here she
Mm.
is with a really good verse of that song. So that was a big moment for me. John, what was yours?
During Weekend Update, right at the end of their gun control run, they cut to Michael Che and he says something along the lines of,
I don't know what you're talking about. I just bought a gun last summer when all those white kids started talking about getting rid of the police. President Biden.
there was something about how like under his breath and casual that delivery
Yeah.
was, that was so like sincere but perfect for that type of joke. Like he just sold that so
Mhm.
well. And I think it's been a while since they've had an audience that was on their side enough for him to get those kind of
Yep.
jokes over. So a lot of times he'll do it. He thinks he's got it over. The audience doesn't react and he just kind of
Mhm.
like, whatever, you guys suck. So I like that. I like that he landed that one. He was proud of himself. He got it over. It got the laugh. And it's it's a pretty strong joke and it's right in the vein of that Michael Che personality.
Signature
Of, I'm just a jerk who's in it for
Mhm.
myself, right? So like undercutting the whole thesis of Colin Jost's run there. So I liked it. I just thought that was good writing, good delivery, and ready for Che to get a win on one of his scuzzy jokes.
Very good. Diana, what's your best sketch?
Yeah, definitely the Maya because I feel like that was the most well done of them all. It was the best produced. It's the cameos. It was a home run. It's what we had wanted to see the whole night, like we discussed before, and they managed to just get it in the last few minutes. But yeah, I wasn't left wanting more like the other episodes. I thought it was just enough and a bunch of great things packed in there.
Yeah. That was definitely a very good way to end the night and a really
Yeah.
strong sketch.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go, and this is maybe a little bit antithetical to what I ultimately said about it, but I'm gonna go with the boomer vaccination sketch.
Hmm.
Was it the best music video of the season? No, but I thought it was a really strong one. Had something to say. It was funny. I love it when they dress as old people, and I love it when the whole cast is in a sketch together. So you have all of them in that room dancing. I feel like that's a fun energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought a lot of those rhymes were really, really good. So some top notch rap writing there that you don't always expect to be in the wheelhouse of sketch comedy writers. So that's it, John.
I'm gonna be a little antithetical to what I said earlier, but I think I'm gonna go with Asian cast member Bowen Yang, who
Mm.
discusses resources to support the AAPI. Um, I think that there's a lot more people that this will land hard for
Mhm.
than would be challenged by it. Because I think there was a lot of people waiting to hear something, particularly from
Right.
Bowen on this. And I think even if it was challenging for some people that are maybe a little more removed from the situation, that they're just not immediately super duper passionate for the cause and just like, I just wanted to hear whatever you're saying, I'm on board with. This is just what I needed. Like if you don't have that immediate reaction to it and you're just all in no matter what, and you take it a little more casually, then maybe it's a bit more hard
Mhm.
to find the fun in it. But I think there's a lot more people that are in that first camp of I just wanted this on the
Mhm.
show. So thank you. So I think
Yeah, I definitely
there's some
knew at some
value.
point in the show we were going to hear from Bowen. Absolutely. And I'm glad we
Right.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there was definitely value in it making it onto
Mhm.
the show. And even though again, I'm not the target for this personally, I can respect that Bowen navigated those waters about as well as
Yeah.
you could have. Structural changes notwithstanding, he found some really good things to try and turn into a joke, and his delivery is always so
Mhm.
sharp. Like he knows his persona and he knows how to take these jokes and make them his and deliver them in his patented Bowen Yang style. So like there was still a whole lot of just his prowess on display. And because it's such a charged topic and because emotions are going to run high and emotions were even running high from him, I don't think that it needed to be an unqualified win for absolutely everyone tuning in for this to still be
Mhm.
strong and necessary and a good showing from Bowen. And again, proving his value on the show besides just filling a demographic need.
Right.
He is a very strong person at the desk.
Yeah.
And I've never seen him misfire. And tonight was no different.
Yeah. He's a very, very charismatic guy that you just, I
Yeah.
feel like you just want to root for him as soon as you see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, John, for MVP, are you going to surprise us, or is it who we think it's going to be?
Geez, well, yeah, no, this was not a show that had a lot of standouts for me. I am gonna go with Bowen. I think that they gave him a weighty job
Mhm.
to do this week, and it's really hard to critique what he presented.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of people that it probably really, really, really worked for really well, and obviously it was something that had a lot of him in it, and I think that's certainly worth an MVP nod.
Yep. And we'll do a little shout out. Celestium helped him with it.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
in their first season, I think, and has gotten some good stuff going on, and helped Bowen with this, and it was really good. I'm gonna give my MVP to Maya. Um, she was everywhere. She was delivering knockout strong performances in every single thing. Um, I thought obviously she's a great host. She's a great performer, and I didn't feel like there was anything that she phoned in at all. And I imagine that would be easy to do when you've done it a long time. You've been in a bunch of cold opens this season, and you got a whole show to get through. But she was giving it all right from the top to the bottom. So it goes to Maya. Diana, who's your MVP?
I'm going to go with Keenan. I think every sketch he was in, he really fully committed. Even though the Hot Ones wasn't my favorite sketch, like DeMichelangelo, like love it. It was 2 seconds and he stole my whole heart for that one. Growing up, I loved all that. So I think watching him on SNL, it brings me back to like Ishboo and the Chocolate Chef, Cooking with Randy and Mandy, and Pierre Escargot.
Pierre Escargot.
Yes.
My favorite, yeah.
Oh, so good. So I see a lot of that in him, especially when he did, what the heck was his name? Richard, Request, when he did that choreographer. Like, I saw a lot of that in him. So I'm going to give it to him. He goes all out. He commits. We love Keenan.
All right. Yeah. Very good.
That's fair.
Now the big one, on a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck. Diana, how would you rate this episode?
I don't want to say weak because I love Maya, and I think that closing saved it, so I'm gonna give it a decent just because of that closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is a solid great.
Really?
Really? There was the Kamala sketch didn't work for me really at all. Sidney Powell was just okay. Choreographer and Barfly were a little bit more middle of the road, but everything else was pretty much hitting for me, and I thought Weekend Update was really strong. So I had a lot of energy throughout the whole show. And I really had a good time with it. I thought they had some strong stuff. They came out with some great production values for sure again. And yeah, I had a great time with this. So John, I'm sure you are not going to give it a grade.
No, I don't think this one quite got over the line into decent. I'm landing on weak.
Ooh.
I don't think it was a terrible show. We're not near train wreck territory, but Maya Rudolph, I think you pull out all the stops. And I think they knew they had her coming in for a while, and they just came off a hiatus. And I feel like there was a better show that they could have offered her.
Yeah.
And I think we had a couple real clunkers in this one and a whole lot that just, were barely wins. And then you're right. Solid Weekend Update, solid cold open, and just a big sag right in them, and a solid closer, and then a whole lot of sagging in between. And if I just go back and just mentally gauge my laugh-o-meter for the show, I just never quite got into it, like got on board, and like it wasn't getting good laughs out of me this week. So yeah, for me personally, yeah, this is definitely the first week of the season.
All right. Well, I'm sorry because I
Hate
know
to be
how
a
much
downer
you
on
were
my
looking
last
forward
episode
to
of the
it.
season. I was and again, yeah, it's expectation because I love Maya and I know what she can do. But
All right,
SNL,
well,
there's highs, there's lows.
Comedy's subjective, so it hits for some, it misses for others, but they give us something, and that's no easy feat. So
Very true.
that's that. All right. Well, before we go, I want to mention real quick. I just put a new video up, a new sketch. It's called The Vacuum King. It's
Ooh.
really, really, really stupid, and I really,
It's
really
not.
love it.
It's delightful. It's the best one that I think you've done personally.
Oh, wow.
Maybe okay, so maybe it's
You did a
because my
great-
kids have had The Lion King on a loop for like the last month on Disney Plus. It could be that, or it could be that I loved The Lion King when I was a kid, so I still know every musical cue from that movie.
Right.
But to do a shot for shot recreation of the most emotional moment in that movie using nothing but a Roomba, a dustbuster, and a vacuum, I think that's inspired,
All
and
right.
I can wholeheartedly tell people to go watch it.
Wow. All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Up on my YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever.
I am going to
Videos are
slap
found.
that subscribe button. Woo!
There we go. And then also, my sketch team has a show this Wednesday night on twitch.tv/litcomedy, LIT comedy. We recently entered the Austin Sketch Festival, so Dave Buckman, I know you're listening. Put us in the show.
He does.
Yeah.
He does have some pull over there. So
He
I
does.
hear. Yeah, no, we should definitely call in some favors. Dave Buckman, if you ever want to come back and talk vintage SNL again, you know what you got to do, right? There's
Or
a
current
little
SNL.
quid pro quo going on here. Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully it at least makes it into a stack that he gets to weigh in on.
That would be nice.
That's very cool. I hope you get through because that's a fun festival to
Yeah.
participate in.
Yeah.
Even though it's virtual and you won't be heading down to Austin, that would be very, very fun to be involved in his show.
Absolutely. And Diana, thank you so much for joining us. I thought this was so much fun. You have great
Yes.
energy.
Oh,
And
You did
tell
not
us-
disappoint. I enjoyed your
Thank
takes.
you.
Tell us
Um,
where we can find your blog and your hosting stuff.
Sure. So check out my Instagram. It's Diana Gebbia, Gebbia. And then my website is dianagebbia.com. I do fun reality
There
TV
we go.
recaps, memes, polls. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
No,
it was
you were
fun
enjoying it?
having you up.
Yeah. It was so nice.
Very
All
good.
right. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks to Diana Gebbia and John Murray. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Carissa Eubank, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back next week when SNL returns with host Daniel Kaluuya and musical guest St. Vincent. But until then, this has been episode number 132 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.